Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. So let's talk about the announcement of the beta version of the brackets, and I'll do a report of my first Commander event in the US of A. For the brackets talk, I'll put up the graphic Wizards revealed, and then I saw the graphic from Rachel Weeks from the Command Zone, but I don't think it actually adds anything, so we'll leave that off, but I have seen that. First thing I will say is based on the announcement back in October last year, I was expecting soft ban lists for every bracket level, and instead we got soft ban lists on types of cards. At first I was disappointed because previously people ignored the intention of signpost bans, but looking at the reaction online, it seems people are responding to the types of cards guidelines, so I'm cool without the lists of cards for every bracket. That would be a lot to keep track of anyway. Getting into the specific brackets, I don't see the need for 1 and 5, and I think there is room for more nuance in the levels between the core and optimized experiences. Regarding CEDH players, they have always managed themselves, and they will continue to manage themselves. I feel like the only purpose this inclusion in the bracket serves is to officially recognize the community. That's great, but along with the inclusion of the exhibition bracket, it skews how we view the brackets overall, so I would rather they were off, and the community was officially recognized in another way. Maybe what they could do is make CEDH the lower half of the optimized bracket there, since they both draw from the same pool and have the same limitations. Talking about exhibition, I don't think it should be a thing at all, because what's the purpose of the brackets? Why was this system necessary to create? It's because people were dissatisfied with the matchmaking. They were dissatisfied with having lopsided games. Who doesn't care about matchmaking? Who doesn't care about winning? The exhibition level players. I think exhibition level decks would be best included in core level games, since those are the slowest and longest, and so exhibition level decks would have the best chance to show off what they have there. Maybe that could also be a footnote at the bottom of core. So that leaves us with core, upgraded, and optimized. I like core and optimized as they are laid out here. Those are well defined and serve as bookends to the non-CEDH experience, I would say. Upgraded is fine, but I feel like it doesn't cover all the range between core and optimized, so I proposed a new bracket, powerful, between upgraded and optimized. I chose just one because I like Gavin Verhey's idea of an even number of brackets so that players don't just gravitate towards the center. I also chose to not put it between core and upgraded because I made changes to upgraded instead to lower that power level. But changes that I made to the core bracket, I wanted to specify 3 or fewer tutors, and changes or modifications that I make to a guideline is in green. And then I changed the no 2-card infinite combos to no infinite combos at all, and if one happens by accident, then it's capped at 3 effects. I think that's appropriate for core. And then I added 2 new categories, stacks and free to cast spells. For stacks under core, I put tax effects are okay, but no stacks allowed. And then no free to cast spells, so like the flares or the deflecting swat, that kind of thing. You can cast those, for their printed mana cost, but just for simplicity's sake, we'll just say that they can't be included. You can put in another card with a similar effect. And then for the changes I made to upgraded, specify no infinite combos turn 7 or earlier. In the previous bracket list, they talked about no early game. I think it would be better if we specified, when is not early game. Turn 7 should probably be late game, so that should be okay. Are some people going to get screwed by, having a combo that they can win with on turn 6 and then somebody else winning the next turn, of course, but we have to cut it off somewhere. And then here too, we can cap it at 3 effects if it happens turn 7 or earlier, like the core bracket. But no limit on the cards that would be part of a combo unless it's a game changer. And then speaking of game changers, that stays the same at 3, and then 3 or fewer stacks effects, and then 3 or fewer free to cast spells. And then we get to powerful. This is all new, so new stuff, that's in pink. For mass land denial, I added the 3 or fewer mass land denial effects. I left it the same for core and upgraded. A little bit of mass land denial, but not enough to have it be really consistently coming out. And this is also so that I can play Blood Moon. Extra turns, capped at 3 per player per round. I chose 3 because that's kind of the max that you can get from, Expropriate, that blue card that's on the Game Changers list. Although 3 extra turns is maybe in practice as good as infinite, but we'll just say 3 for here. Infinite combos, no restrictions. Game Changers, raise that to 5, possibly 7 over time, as more cards are added to Game Changers, and I'll talk about that too later. Tutors, 5 or fewer. Stacks, 5 or fewer. Free to cast spells, 5 or fewer. I felt like if I, kept all of the limited cards of those, the same number, it would be easier to remember. And then bracket 4, optimized, no change there, just no restrictions at all. Alright, how about my thoughts on Game Changers? I like the idea and I like the choices they made, and I would be okay if they added a handful of cards to the list every month or every 3 months or whatever. And as for cards that I would add, Teferi's Protection, Necropotence, Worldly Tutor, the Partner Commanders, the Eminence Commanders, all free counterspells, Mana Drain, and Farewell. These are cards that I hear a lot about looking online. Cards that people have complaints about. And then 2 cards that I think are also proposed as Game Changers, but which I don't think need to be. One is Mystic Remora. That can be easily played around and then eventually dies. And then Sol Ring. The argument that the developers made was about not what it does, but that there was a critical mass of cards that did the same thing. But here, with these brackets, and the Game Changers, Ancient Tomb and Grim Monolith are Game Changers, and then Monocrypt and Jewel Lotus are banned, so I think Sol Ring is fine. Yes, it can lead to runaway games, but everyone has access to it, and the variance that adds is a good thing. Sometimes it can help a newer or weaker player beat a stronger player, which we do want. We don't want Commander to be a pay-to-win, where the more invested player always wins, and we don't want it to be like chess, where the stronger player always wins. Alright, so that'll do it for my talk about brackets. Let's talk about my first experience in the States. I went to a little shop at 4 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I was wondering how many would show up, but 12 people showed up. I was like, I'm on vacation, what's your excuse? But surprisingly, there were young people. Maybe 3 or 4 high schoolers, and then one 10-year-old kid with his grandmother. Everyone else was in the same demographic as the players I saw in Japan. Guys in their 20s, 30s, 40s. So 3 pods, I played Riga against Krenko, Frodo Sam, and Gryson Starn from Warhammer. Krenko eventually ran us over because we did not remove him enough or quickly enough. Frodo Sam never really got off the ground, and then Gryson Starn was doing a good amount of damage and drawing a lot of attention, but I actually teamed up with him for a bit because we both recognized Krenko as the real threat. And it was funny because we both had the Azure Beastbinder here, and we were turning off both Krenko and the Goblin King, but it wasn't enough. He still killed us. And then folks were more taken aback by my Japanese cards than I was expecting. The first sign was when we revealed our commanders. I showed my Japanese Riga, and they were like, whoa, I can't read that. And then the Gryson player actually had an English version of this Riga. Sorry for the reflection there. And so he just layered it on top of my Japanese one. And then when the game ended, I traded with him. So yeah, I have his English version. This is going to be useful to have during my stay here in the States. And I actually have a plan during this time in the US to trade away all my Japanese cards for the same in English, if folks want them, because I can pretty easily get them again in Japanese when I go back to Japan. But I want the exact same artwork and frame and foiling. I won't take just anything. And if something doesn't exist in English, like my Mystical Archive Teferi's Protection, then I won't trade it for anything. But yeah, this Riga here is actually an upgrade. Same artwork, frame, and foiling, but with the promo stamp there. I like the promo stamp, so yeah. And then the second big reaction to Japanese cards was when someone played an adventure card, and I happened to have this adventure token here, and they were like, whoa, I can't read that, and I'm like, it's fine, just look at the picture. I have this other version from the later set as well. Very happy to find these. That's cool. But yeah, I took my Riga deck down from an upgraded 3 to a core 2 bracket by simply removing Enlightened Tutor, and that was the only game changer that I had in there. From January, actually, I've been paring down the deck's power levels, so no combos, only one tutor in Neo form, but I might add Eldritch Evolution. No fast mana, no extra turns, no counter spells even, except for the creatures that sacrifice to do that. And then all my sweepers hit creatures power 3 or higher, but in the case of the Krenko player, it might have been worth clearing my board in order to clear his. I'm considering adding Austere Command. Still gives me the ability to kill bigger creatures, but has versatility with the option to go after weenies as well. Next, I went to the losers table and power levels went up, so I got out my Subira deck. Still need to get an English version of that. I took it down from optimized 4 to upgraded 3 by taking out Blood Moon. But the other players, there was Joda, and a Kalia, and another commander who I forget, but yeah, it goes without saying that Joda ran us over. But talking about my deck, players were impressed with my snow-covered mountain. I guess people haven't seen this printing, this picture before, so that was cool. Very early in the game, I pulled Mog Fanatic here. That ruined my Goblin Recruiter combo line, so that was out. But then I also got the Bomat Courier out very quickly. And actually, he went all the way. He got like 5 cards exiled under him, and then I sacrificed him and then drew those 5 cards. That was great. And then Power Balance, one of my favorite cards. I found an English version of this. This was one of my favorites. But from this, first I got a Fugitive Codebreaker. This was funny, kind of a mixed blessing, because, you know, he just comes out, it's a free goblin, but he completely missed the disguise card draw part of the card, so he was just kind of a basic goblin there. And then later, somebody cast a 5 mana spell, and then I got a free Kiki-Jiki on the board. That was also funny. And then people were getting worried about me at this point. And then with Kiki-Jiki on the board, somebody cast another spell. I revealed this Fear of Missing Out. And then people were telling me like, oh, that's an infinite combo with Kiki-Jiki. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize that. That was not my intention. They encouraged me to go for the infinite combo. But I passed on the idea since I was not aware of it. I told them that from the next game I would use that more proactively. But anyway, the Kalia player had Avacyn out, so he could have infinitely blocked me with that single invulnerable attacker. It would have made us, one-on-one. I would have had a better chance to win, but I decided to not do that. So yeah, Jodo won, and then they moved to handing out promos. Everybody got this Gifted Aetherborn. Very cool, alternate artwork, and then I actually don't have any copy of this card, so that's cool. And then they opened a bunch of promo packs, and we drafted an order of how well we did. I was at the bottom, but I got this Phineas. I played against him as a commander once, and he was pretty strong, so happy to have him. I may or may not build him in the future. Also got the promo stamp there and the foiling, very cool. And then they handed out packs to everyone. I was placed low enough that I didn't get a real pack. They gave me an Infinity pack. I thought that was kind of funny. But from this, I got Celebrate 1000. Celebrate 1000, which is actually decent. I guess somebody uses it in their dice deck. If I ever make a dice deck, I might put that in there. And then another player pulled Starlight Spectacular from their Infinity pack. And I was very excited about that. I was telling them I nearly won a game with it, but they were not impressed, and they actually left the pack on the table. I should have taken it for myself. But yeah, that was that. Good time. I could have performed better, but I look forward to more stores and more games later. There's another Commander meeting tomorrow at a different store in a different city, so I'll go there. Maybe I'll do a report if it's worth talking about. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.